Ah,
Hi, Greg. How are you?
oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hi, Lida. We'll obviously get started when we have the rest of the team here. I think we should be all right on numbers. I know Matt was planning on coming. Danny, Marcia, Shelby usually tunes in, so I think we'll be all right.
All right. All right. Is it snowing in Greenville?
It wasn't. It's definitely got a little bit cooler. The sun was out for a while.
For a while, yeah. I just had a big flurry of snow here in Quincy, so
Oh, nice. Hmm.
yeah, it sort of shifted a little bit, but I mean, it was like a really kind of a blizzardy effect for about half an hour. So, hey, Matt.
Hey Greg, how's it going?
Yeah, it's
Good
okay.
to, good to see you at the party the other day.
Yeah, that was nice.
It was fun.
Urgh.
Is anyone wearing green? I'm not. Right, Greg, is your jumper green? Can't see. No.
Question is, who's got the orange?
A little orangey.
I'm Black Irish today.
Oh,
I'm Black Irish every day. So,
lad, are you up in Warner Valley?
can't hear you.
No, I'm in San Francisco.
Ah,
I can't even get to our place in Warner Valley right now. So
oh, too much snow.
yeah. So they tell me.
Uh, I don't mind the snow. I'm glad I don't have to shovel it. I love it when it's at 4,000 feet and up.
Okay. Shelby is definitely logging in a few minutes. Looks like Dax has signed on as well, so we'll give it another few minutes. I reached out to Marcia as well. I know that she had an event over at the school today, but she was planning on attending, so we'll probably have her sign in here soon as well. But worst case scenario, we'll have Shelby logged in a few minutes and have a quorum to get things started. It should just be another few minutes. Thank you.
Hey Dax, how's the prep come along for your seed day?
Hey Matt. I'm not too involved in that project at the moment, so
I'm not
Okay.
even sure where they're at. I think it's all going along good though.
It's this Saturday, I think, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not gonna go, but sounds like a cool event.
Yeah, we're trying to get more stuff like that going. Just more community events and
Hmm.
get people together and thinking about that sort of thing.
Now it's gonna be like seeds and some seedlings, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of yeah, whatever your people want to bring
Right.
and swap.
Okay. Potluck style. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty informal.
What is this and where and when? Sea Day?
The Dawn Institute is having a community event. It's like a seed swap.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember the date and time off the top of my head. But it's coming up soon, and yeah, it's open to the public. Anybody who's interested in gardening or farming can get together and talk seeds and planting in springtime.
Cool.
Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be great.
Hey, Patrick, speaking of the Dawn Institute, did you receive the grant request from Allie?
Yes, it looks like she submitted it on, Friday and
sounds right,
we'll
yeah.
look at it today.
Okay.
And, yeah, it looks very thorough. I had a meeting today with, Kim Dufour. And, just so that she was aware that it was in the system. And we'll get that lined up for, our first meeting in April.
Sounds good.
But yeah, and actually I was gonna let everybody know that we have that in the queue as of Friday, when we kind of get into it. Um, Thanks for sending that, Danny. You know what, I meant to follow up with you beforehand, but I didn't want to put you on the spot. I don't know why, but either oversight on my part, but I'll start putting you up front after we do public input. We'll just make the treasurer's report a standard thing. For today, if it's all right with you, when we get to committee member updates, we'll just leave it for there, and you can kind of highlight some items on the treasurer's report.
Yeah.
Well, in April, I'll put that up front right after public input, just so we can.
All right. Works for me. Thanks for
Cool.
the warning.
Yeah. I noticed that last time and I should have updated the agenda. I was like, wait, why did I do that? But anyway, I don't know. I think I was probably just forgot.
Well, that way I feel part of the whole group. You see, I kind of like being everybody rather than sticking out like a sore thumb. But anyway, that's why you did it.
No worries. All right, it looks like we have a quorum, so we'll just go ahead and do a quick roll call. Greg Walsh,
I'm here.
Gladys Scoggin,
Here,
Matt Fogarty. Gotcha. Danny Steyer,
Yep, here.
Shelby Leon.
Here.
Great. Thank you, Shelby, and Dax Albrecht.
Here.
Awesome. All right. And we have two community participants, Sherry Pryor and Kester Porter. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, may I have a motion for an approval of today's agenda, please?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Lyda. A second?
I'll second.
Danny Steyer, gotcha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Any opposed? None. And may I please have a motion to approve the March 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes, please?
Also move, Shelby.
Thank you, Shelby. And a second?
I'll second it, Lyda.
Thank you, Lyda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And none. All right, thank you. All right, and at this point, do we have any public input?
Yes. Can I go ahead?
Oh, yes, please, go ahead, Kes.
Okay, two items. One, I see that people are asking to uh, there's sort of a call out in the community to go to the IVCSD meeting on Wednesday because they're encouraging the services district to take a lead in coordinating rebuilding in Greenville and I guess just in Greenville, which is basically the reason for the DFC existing. So I thought it might be good for at least somebody from the DFC to be there, hear what they're talking about. That I don't know if that's what will transition from the DFC to the CSD or anyway.
Yeah. Where did you see that, Kes?
Tyler sent me a request to attend that meeting. And,
Okay, I
and it
was
was a
looking-
blind CC, so I don't know who else is.
I haven't seen that the CSD posted an agenda or anything for that.
You haven't seen an agenda?
No.
I don't know that I saw an agenda either, but they apparently have a meeting Wednesday. Was it 3?
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock. So,
I got the same email.
so just seems like
Yeah,
those,
so if that does
be
occur, I
coordinated.
mean, I'll be there. I'll be coming back from traveling, and so I was gonna try to be there if they do something. And yeah, it makes sense to me.
Okay, the other issue isn't an issue. It was just that I was following up on rumors in Rotary and went to the building department to find out how many permits are out there for buildings being built in the Greenville area. And what she was able to give me is the permits that are issued for the year for January, or excuse me, for the full year of 2024, which includes either buildings that have been completed this year, or but anyway, things that have started in January. 2 churches, a health clinic, which is the Rancheria Sierra Institute, apparently is doing something that should have 20 jobs, and 49 dwellings, including 1 cabin, but those are mostly homes. 16 manufactured homes on top of that, and 3 ADUs. So 68 dwellings. I thought that's good for people to know that.
So if you go to our website, Kest, I've got an infographic that depicts that. Now I'm a
Oh,
little.
you already know it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
every 2 weeks I get a report from Heidi Whiteman. And then I go through and I just highlight the ones that are either in Greenville or Crescent Mills, try to ferret out the ones that are that have nothing to do with fire recovery.
Huh?
Unfortunately, 2 years ago, the building department was supposed to code things that were a Dixie fire, and unfortunately, they're not doing that. So then I spent a year, or I spent a number of weeks going through a year's worth, actually 2 years worth of documents. I had like 67 some odd pages. And I went through and I highlighted everything that said Greenville, Crescent Mills, Warner Valley, Indian Falls, etc. And then had to determine if that was a rebuild or if that was just somebody that was deciding to just do something. I had to determine if that was a pump house, if that was a house, if that was a church, and so on and so forth. So I've got roughly on the infographic, it says about 57 approximate rebuilds. But I've been trying to keep up with it and then continue to update it as I can.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I'm
No, it's okay.
your time on it.
No, it's quite all right. It happens. I mean, but yeah, it is good information. And you know, what I landed on was just putting that on the website because you know, in order to try to maintain relevance, right, and keep it updated. But it's been tricky based off of, you know, sometimes some things are just like there's not a lot of detail to them, like in the way that it's listed on that permit report. So anyway, but thank you for that information nonetheless.
Sure.
Yes, Matt,
Does anyone know the current population of Greenville?
the current population?
Mhm. I mean, we know it was like 1,300 before the fire. That's what it says on the
Yeah, so
site. of this town.
the census area is actually pretty wide. So, when people think of Greenville, they think a mile northeast, south, and west of the intersection of 89 and Main Street. But if you're in the Greenville zip code, it actually extends all the way along North Valley Road, all the way out to North Arm. So the population, I don't currently know it. And unfortunately, I don't know that we're going to have a real accurate picture until the 2030 census. Because the census was done in 2020. And so I don't know that it's going to be as accurate as it can be until there's another required census.
And the last time they did it, I don't recall it being 1,300. We were
was
down at
849.
about, yeah,
It
850.
was 849 before the fire.
Including the
So
whole
that's-
area, or, I mean, because it looks like
Greenville,
that
the town
mile,
of Greenville.
the
Just the
mile
town of
square
Greenville.
part looks like it's maybe 300. I would be surprised if it was 300 people.
Christie at the Region Burger guessed that there's probably about 249 people now.
Yeah,
That was her guess too.
yeah.
But what's that based off of?
Uh,
I
People
mean,
that come and get a burger, I guess.
yeah, I know, but
The number of houses, the number of structures there.
yeah, but I think like if you go off like the elementary school and the high school combined, they have over 200 students. You know what I'm saying? And those are just kids,
Wow.
right? So
That's
what
the
I'm saying.
that's the entire valley. That's not just in Greenville though.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean
Yeah.
is like, people think of Greenville as just being a mile northeast, south, and west of the geography I just gave. But it extends along north. Like right now, you're sitting in Greenville, Kest, at your house. That's
Well,
Right.
because of the zip code. And so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that there's not a good way. There's not an accurate picture of it. Like if you can be on Diamond Mountain Road and be in Greenville, because that's where the zip code goes to. Does everybody follow?
I get that as far as the zip code goes. I just thought that when they did the 850, they were talking about in the town of rather than in the zip code.
I don't know how they would distinguish that though.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all. That's all I'm saying. And so like it would be nice to know what the baseline is, like what the denominator is to determine where they actually satisfied that 8 whatever number,
Yeah.
That's all. Because I've tried this one too. I've tried to find out an accurate picture other than like a gut guess, and it's very hard. And if anybody has any ideas of where to pull that data, that would be very helpful.
You pretty much have to do your own census in town and go to those houses and find out how many people are there, I think. I don't know how else you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Go door to door. Yes, Danny.
Yeah, I think very hard in town, but I mean, if you think about Greenville proper, meaning mile east, west, south, north, it's still, it's flat devastated still.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the rebuild is, 1-2%, if that, I mean, so anyway, that's
Yeah.
the
No,
comment.
there's still a lot to go. How about that?
Yes, exactly. So, yeah.
100%. Yeah. All right. Well, great. Thank you, Kest. Anything else from
I think
Sharon?
the population via the post office, like a guesstimate of how many people are signed up at the post office?
I don't know. That's a good point, Michaela. I can find out. But yeah, that might be a way to get after some of the numbers. All right. Anything else for public input? All right. So next up, we have the Dixie Fire Canopy Project. We do have a grant proposal in. And I think y'all had that proposal sent out to you and we were able to read it.
Mhm.
I have the grant proposal plus a presentation that Michaela Trammell put together just to talk about some of the previous work. And then also, it looks like we have Mr. Cook on as well. I believe Mr. Cook is representing the American Legion here in Greenville, and that's incorporated part of this this grant request. So with that, Michaela, I wanted to turn it over to you, and we can start where you'd like. If you wanted to give everybody kind of the update from 2024 first, and then get into your request for 2025.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everybody for having me, and as well as Bill Cook. We do have a little bit to talk about and kind of where we're at. So if you would like to start with the slideshow presentation, this would be a great way to kind of do a recap for 2024. I did have some help on this, so you can go ahead and start there.
Are you able to see it, everyone?
First of all, yeah, so I just want to say thank you again for letting me talk to you and come back with another grant proposal. 2024 was a great year for us. We set out to plant 400 trees and 200 shrubs, as I had mentioned in previous meetings, and we were actually able to plant 655 trees and 380 shrubs in the areas that we had said, and that include Greenville, Indian Valley, Indian Falls, Canyon Dam, and Warner Valley. We hired 6 employees, and that does include myself. So we've got a few admin ladies that have been significantly helping reduce the workload on the admin side of things so that we could focus on the initiatives of planting the trees. And that includes 3 labor members as well. They did a wonderful job last year. We've also secured a landscaping architect for the American Legion Hall, and we will talk a little bit more on that. We have built our infrastructure and assets. We have a reliable truck, reliable equipment, including an auger, shovels, axes, things like that, as well as a trailer to haul everything for long-term stability. And we have made invaluable connections in the environmental sector. You can go ahead and go on. In 2024, we brought in $297,215, and you can see I do have it, the acronyms here. And if you remember from previous budgets with others, you've got Bread for the Journey with $3,000, Greenville Rotary $5,000, Arbor Day Foundation paired with FedEx for $45,000, Indian Valley Chamber of Commerce at $3,000, PG&E at $10,000. Dixie Fire Collaborative, that's you guys, at $75,000, paired with North Valley Community Foundation for another $25,000. And then the Methodist Church provided $2,000, as well as the Indian Valley Thrift Store, another $750 for me to go and make some outside connections in Chicago at the Arbor Day Foundation Partners in Community Tree Forestry. And then we received a grant from Feather River Community Fund in the amount of $15,000 to bridge us in our off seasons for any kind of insurance, workers' comp, bookkeeping, those things that we had to pay for, even in the off season. And then AFWD provided over $113,000 in wages for our employees. And in 2024, we allocated over $297,000 to reforest the areas that were affected by the Dixie Fire. 113 covered wages provided by the AFWD. The remaining funds were used to plant 655 trees, 380 pollinator shrubs, and we went towards purchasing a trailer, supplies, and ensuring the success of the planting and long-term sustainability of the project. I do have an attached budget for specific line items if anybody has any questions on that. In 2025, we do have big plans. We hope to double the amount that we had set for ourselves last year and plant 800 trees. 400 pollinator shrubs. We hope to establish a permanent location where we can eventually build a community garden as well as a nonprofit nursery to go towards supporting long-term regreening of our area. This will ensure the sustainability of our work in not only the Dixie Fire area, but other wildfire affected regions. So we are looking to expand beyond just the Dixie Fire burn scar and go to other areas that are suffering from the ever-changing climate concerns. And then our spending plans, we do plan to use the funds raised to support our restoration and community building goals. We are hoping to secure at least 2,500 or 250,000. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. It's been a minute since I've had to present to a full board. 250,000 in funding to be spent on the trees, the permanent location, as well as the nonprofit nursery. Additional tools and equipment that we will need for this year. A lot more trees is going to be a lot more tools. We go through shovels probably one every 2 months with how much they are doing out there. Hiring local workers for planting and maintenance and the development of the garden and nursery, as well as building infrastructure, storage, and a greenhouse. This will be critical in advancing our mission to heal wildfire impacted areas and create a sustainable community spaces. And that does include the Legion Hall. We are looking to increase the amount of green spaces in the Indian Valley area. So I just want to make sure that we are including them in any of our future plans. Our goal was to request $100,000 in funding. And that's going to get us started for the beginning half of the year. That's going to get us ordering trees, being able to pay our employees. Since we will no longer be having the Alliance for Workforce Development funding, we will be responsible for all of their wages ourselves. We are requesting $50,000 from North Valley Community Foundation, as well as another $50,000 from Dixie Fire Collaborative. We do plan to use that for 300 trees and 150 shrubs towards our long-term goals. And I did want to make sure we include a huge thank you for a wonderful 2024 planting season. You guys made such a huge impact in the community. With your help, we would not have been able to be where we are today. So, as we go, I would like to talk a little bit about the Legion Hall project. We have received a proposal from Kiesel Design for phase 1 and phase 2 of the landscaping project out there, and that's going to total $7,000, and that does not include phase 3, which is the implementation phase of the project. So I did put an additional amount in there. We do not know what that's going to cost. They have in the contract agreement, they have it listed as an hourly wage. So we will know a little bit more about that after we sign and send off the agreements and pay for those the planning phase and the construction documents, everything to be sent off for permitting through the county. This was a requirement for the Legion Hall to get all of their permitting done. And so we have been working hard for about 6 months on trying to secure a landscaping architect and as well as get them to quote us for drafting a plan to move forward.
Okay. Just to clarify, Michaela, just to back up a little bit. So the Legion Hall expenses that you've described are both right now, they're just for is it just for planning and for design? Is that what that is?
It is for planning and the actual landscaping plan, that the official document that would be sent off to the county for approval so that they would get their permitting, as well as the whole drafted design of what the landscaped area would look like. That's the 7,000. And then I believe that in my contractual expenses, which if you would like to pull up the budget,
The budget from your grant request, that one, or the spreadsheet?
Yes, yes, please.
Which one?
The budget from the actual grant request.
Okay. Should be sharing that right now.
Okay,
Page 11?
so yeah, let me. If you can see in the contractual expenses, I have it listed as 17,000. So that includes the 7,000 for the phase 1 and phase 2, as well as 10,000 to go towards the hourly rates. I do not know how long that landscaping project would cost. But I do believe that 10,000 was a safe number to put. They did not quote me a number on that or how many hours they would take. So I have that in there because I do also have another contract with a grant writer. That would be about $1,500 a month for a professional grant writer to also search for funding for us. So those two contracts are listed in there, as well as a little extra for those hourly wages.
Okay, so to be clear, this total 17,000 incorporates the $7,000 for the Legion Hall with regard to the planning contract, additional sort of a buffer, if you will, for the potential hourly employment of the implementation of that landscaping plan for the Legion Hall, and then also a grant writer at $1,500 a month.
For how many months?
Yeah, I'm only putting 1 month in there because we do have enough where it would be a 3-month contract, and we do have our own 2 months worth of funding for that specifically. So I'm only adding an additional month on top of that to meet that 3-month contract.
Okay.
And then the rest of that would all be for the Legion Hall project.
Okay, so 7,000.
And anything that's left over, yeah, anything that's specifically left over, maybe it's a specific amount of hours. It only goes up to $5,000. Anything from that section would go specifically towards the Legion Hall regreening.
Okay, so $7,000 for the specific landscape architectural design and plan, $1,500 for a grant writer that takes you up to $8,500, and then the remainder, so $9,500 would be available for the hourly wage payment for the contracted landscapers to do the grounds at the Legion. Is that accurate?
Yes, yeah. And then they also do have a whole section behind the Legion Hall that is not included in the county permitting. And that if anything's left over, we would put that towards the regreening of that area in general.
Okay.
I'm not sure who all is familiar with the Legion Hall lot location, but they do have quite a bit of area that could use regreening.
Sure. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Greg, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm curious why, once the plans are done, which I understand they're still in a state of flux, why we don't have a bid for that as opposed to an hourly. That just seems kind of vague to me. I mean, we have the plans, and so, okay, we're going to put it in and this is what it's going to cost, and it's a set number. As opposed to, I don't know, well, we ran wall.
Because the company is not a local company, so they're not entirely sure exactly how many hours it would take. They can't quote us hours that they're unsure of. We do hope to assist in the landscaping project to the best of our capabilities, whether that's providing the wholesale cost of trees, shrubs, dirt, mulch, anything like that. We are going to try and cut costs as much as we possibly can here. So those are all discussions that are to be had with Kiesel Designs. We are not entirely sure what that's going to look at, which is why I do have a little bit of a buffer in there. But I do fully intend to use that entire line item besides the other contractual expense that I do have for the Legion Hall project specific.
Okay.
Any other current questions?
Yeah, Michaela, do you have any idea or any sense for what the survival rate of the trees were that were planted last year?
That's a good question.
That is a great question. We do plan to start going out and doing an inventory and a health check on all of the trees that we planted. 655 trees, that will take a little bit longer to get through. We plan to start April 1st. That'll be the start of our planting season, but we don't plan to start planting until after we do a tree giveaway around the Arbor Day timeframe. We're looking April 26th. So that first beginning section of April, we do plan to do a health assessment of all those trees, wait to see, you know, it does take trees a little bit longer in our area to start blooming for spring. So it's going to be a little bit harder to decipher which ones are still living or growing. They're all still in a dormant stage right now, but from what I have heard from people who have received their trees, everything is looking healthy. We do have a few that we are anticipating to have to replace, but we are going to be shooting for a 80% survival rate. So, but we do not know those numbers yet. No, we're not quite out of that dormant stage.
Okay, thank you.
One second.
Lida had a question.
Yeah, please.
She said, how much of these funds are for your expanded program outside of the burn area? None of these funds are going to be going towards the expansion. We just know that with being able to secure a grant writer, we will be able to then go after capital grants and capacity building grants. So the amount would be that $1,500 for the 1 month of grant writing services. And we're only, you know, with 3 months, grants can take quite a while to write, send, submit, wait for the deadline, and then receive word of any kind of award funding. So any of the funding I'm requesting right now is going to be very specific to the 2025 planting season within the Dixie Fire Burn Scar. But we are hoping to expand. That is our ultimate goals. And so I just wanted to be aware, everyone to be aware of what we are looking to accomplish, but these funds will not be specifically used for that expansion.
Danny, with reference to your comment, I just forwarded on Michaela's presentation and her overall spreadsheet budget that she has.
I do also want to include an update. I had mentioned a tree giveaway for the Arbor Day timeframe. Arbor Day falls on April 25th this year. That's a Friday, so it would be a little bit difficult to have a tree giveaway on a Friday. We do plan to have one April 26th, and we have secured $14,000 from the Arbor Day Fund, the Arbor Day Foundation, paired with State Farm for that tree giveaway. So we're not entirely sure what that's going to look like, how we're going to coordinate that, but we will get working on that. We also have some funds retained in the Almanor Foundation. They have created an account for us. We have a little less than $1,000 in there. We do also have a little over $9,000 currently being held in our bank for, again, those bookkeeping, anything that's coming until we start our season. And then that's going to get us started with payroll for the beginning of the season, as well as trying to get us to that tree giveaway.
Okay. Thanks for that, Michaela. Thanks for those updates. Team, anything else? Questions, comments?
I don't know if Bill Cook wants to say anything. I know that he did want to be included in this meeting, so I don't know if he has anything to add regarding the Legion Hall project specifically.
Yeah, Mr.
Hi, this is Bill Cook. Nice to meet you folks. This is a kind of a different environment for me to function in. A lot of the vocabulary is a little different, but I'll try my best to get across what I hope to convey. I'm the adjutant for the Indian Valley Post. The building itself has been completed. We need the landscaping contract approved by the landscaping plan approved by the county. I've spoken to the firm that Michaela has connected us to. I'm really confident that they know and have a good feel for what fire tolerant landscaping is all about. They haven't developed their plan. They don't have it completely penciled in yet, but we're waiting for that. And I just want to mention that this is a project that really enhances the community. We are there as a community asset. We've already talked to the local 4-H for doing programs in the hall. We've also talked to Blue Star Moms to start bingo programs in the hall. And we're looking at a Gold Digger Day pancake breakfast. So the support of that building is going to be a really beneficial thing for the community at large. And all we are waiting for is the landscaping to be done, the parking lot to be approved, and we're open for business. We know that we are a public service organization and we have to give back to the public. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Cook, thanks. Again, I reached out to Michael Tortoro about providing the VA 101 here in Greenville on March 27th. So thanks for facilitating that as well over at the high school
Yeah,
library.
we've always been really willing to help the Greenville area out. After the fire, Plymouth Bank gave us an opportunity to provide an office in the bank to see local veterans. It didn't work out in terms of numbers that justified us continuing to do it, but we're more than happy to make sure that you're treated the same way that we treat Portola and Chester.
Yeah, it's great. I was actually going to talk to Michael to see if he wanted to utilize our office like once or twice a month to do the same. So, but we'll have that conversation another time.
You betcha.
Danny, you have your hand up.
Yes, actually, the question is, I didn't, on the trees, you say you, Michaela, that you plan to plant 800, but you have a request, you're gonna go purchase 300, so where are those other 500 trees at, and did they survive the winter? Or do you know yet?
Yeah, so our goal is to plant an additional 800 on top of the 655 we've already planted. I understand, the funding limitations, things like that. So I'm only requesting the funding to get us started towards reaching that 800,000 or 800 tree goal. And since the question has not come up and I do want to answer it, I have applied to multiple other grants, but there is a lot of funding concerns at the federal level. I've received multiple emails back stating that the funding discrepancies are kind of taking a little longer for people to get word that they've been awarded anything. So I wanted to let you know I've applied for a Sustainable Forestry Initiative grant for $75,000. I have applied for an EPA Region 9 grant for $150,000, as well as another $100,000 through the Arbor Day Foundation. I've applied to Walmart grants, Target grants. I've applied to about 15 grants so far this year, but I have not received any denials or approvals as of yet. So I do want everyone to know that we are actively searching for additional funding for this initiative and not just trying to solely rely on the Dixie Fire Collaborative or North Valley Community Foundation to fund this entire project.
All right, yeah, great to know. And what was, I didn't write down the number of shrubs you plan to purchase with the 100K that you requested through Dixie Fire and North Valley.
So it would be 300 trees and 150 pollinator shrubs. And we do plan to follow the same model of 4 trees, 2 shrubs per property, but we are going to be switching permanently to the 15-gallon trees that are still really good size, but significantly cut costs as well as the difficulty in labor. They're much lighter, much more cost efficient. They have a higher survival rate than the 30-gallon pots that we had planted last year.
Awesome. Thanks, Michaela.
Okay, team. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? So a couple of different ways we could go here. We could, if the information that I passed along from Michaela's PowerPoint, if you need to see that and review that a little bit more, if you need to think about it, we could do that and address this at our next meeting. Or if somebody wants to make a motion at this point to approve the Dixie Fire Canopy Project's grant request.
I think I would like a little more time to review the project and think it over a little bit before voting on it personally.
Okay. Thank you, Dax. That's a review. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'm ready to vote. I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
You know, Patrick, another thing that I'm thinking about is, you know, whatever our remaining funds are, I'd like to see what our remaining funds are and what grants are in the pipeline, because it seems to me like we're kind of getting down to the last bit here, and I mean, we're kind of getting towards the end of the pot. Am I right with what we've got in the pipeline?
Well, so we're not towards the end. Right now, Dixie Fire collaborative funds available as it relates to Danny's latest report is $579,572.71. So that's where we are right now, and that takes into account some of the money that's been committed towards other organizations. So yeah, we're about 579 is what we're operating with right now.
Let me jump in real quick, Patrick. We
Yes,
do
please.
have that 300K that's kind of out there in limbo that could go or could not go with as far as the commit we have there with the
Rancheria?
Rancheria, right? With the Rancheria money that it's not.
I mean, that would be
Taken or not taken yet.
300K in addition, right? We've almost got 600K. And
Yeah,
then if
w- that-
Rancheria would pay us back, then it becomes 900K.
We have 900, potentially 900K if that comes back. So I just say we're not scraping the bottom of the bucket.
Okay. And then just another clarification on this grant proposal. The ask from the Dixie Fire Collaborative, if I'm understanding, is 50,000 with hopes that NVSC or I hope I got that acronym right, is going to put in another 50,000. Is that what I read?
That's what I'm reading.
Okay.
Taylor?
Yes, yeah. So the entire ask would be for 100,000, specifically only 50 from the DFC and hopefully another 50 from NBCF.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification there.
Thank you.
All right, team. So what we could do is we could table this if anybody needs more review, or if somebody wants to put forth a motion to fund 50% of the overall $100,000 ask with North Valley Community Foundation potentially providing the remaining 50%.
Dax, do you still need time to think, or otherwise? I mean, I don't mind putting forward a motion. But if the committee wants another couple of weeks to think about it, we can do that. But I mean, it's not that much. It's 50K out of 600K.
Yeah, I guess I would defer to what other people are thinking about it. Personally, I'd like a little more time, but if you want to vote on it, that's fine too.
Team?
As a
Thoughts?
treasurer, I don't think I can do that. So I'd rather let somebody else put forth a motion because as a treasurer, I don't think I should.
Well, how about I just try? Okay, I put forward a motion to spend to give 50K to Mickey's project.
Okay, so Matt,
I second it.
okay, Lyda, second. So we have a motion to contribute $50,000 to the Dixie Fire Canopy Project's grant proposal from Matt Fogarty, second from Lyda Scoggin. And so we'll just do a roll call. Lyda,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Danny Steyer,
Yes.
Shelby Lamb,
Yes.
Matt Fogarty,
Yes.
Dax Albrecht.
Yes.
Okay, so that stands approved. $50,000 to the Dixie Fire Canopy Project towards their current grant request. All right, thanks, team.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening and hearing what we have to say and helping us reach those ultimate goals we have. Thank you again.
Yeah, Michaela and Bill, thank you for joining us and tuning in. And
Thank you.
Michaela will be in touch with regard to North Valley Community Foundation and the grant agreement.
Bill's trying to find his unmute
Perfect.
button.
Thank you.
It's okay. We've got time.
And in the meantime, if anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to reach out.
Certainly. Maybe in your bottom left-hand corner, Bill? Audio?
You got to move your cursor. You have
Maybe
to move your cursor
move
down to the
the-
bottom of the
you
screen.
click that.
Sometimes you can press.
There you go.
There we go.
Talk, Bill.
You're good. You're unmuted. Bill, I think you're unmuted.
Yeah, I'm going to delete the meeting. I wasn't sure who you were speaking to, but I'm
Oh.
leaving the meeting and I want to thank you all. And I really enjoyed hearing how this process worked. It's informative. Good
Well,
job.
All right.
Well, thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Hey, Bill.
Okay, moving on to our next item from the Plymouth County Community Development Commission. I shared in the packet here of the rough outline with regard to a contract that the Plymouth County the Plymouth Community Development Corporation, which is the adjacent nonprofit to the Community Development Commission, where they will work with RCAC to build out the first-time down payment assistance program. So both Roger Diefendorf and Clint Cobley are here to answer those questions. Bottom line right up front, a grant proposal is forthcoming. Roger and I have a phone call scheduled for this week at 9 a.m. on Thursday to just go through the specifics of getting the PCDC uploaded into the grant portal with a user account so that the details of the grant proposal can be uploaded, and then I'll send that all out as a grant request to you for the April 7th meeting. But I know that both Clint and Roger have joined us a couple of times to talk through the kind of the big wave tops of the down payment assistance program, and then this is really focused on getting the assistance from RCAC. So with that background, I just want to turn it over now to Roger and Clint. Gentlemen, the floor is yours. Oh, I'm sorry, Roger, you're muted. Roger, Roger, 1 second, please. You're still muted. And I think Roger, down in the bottom left-hand corner on over the, if you move your cursor to the bottom left, there's an audio button. And if you scroll over that and click that, it should unmute you. I'm guessing. See if I can get to. That's fine. We'll just take a pause there. And Clint, I don't know if I know that thank you for sharing the email, but you had some basic details also.
Yeah, I'll fill in a little bit until Roger gets his audio going. Good afternoon, everybody. We were contacted, or I should say, Roger and I, we were contacted, well, maybe a month ago from RCAC, the Rural Community Assistance Corporation. They've been in Greenville a number of times, and they're also the organization that is sponsoring the Building Rural Economies grants in Quincy and in Chester. And they're building on the rural economies for recreation economies for rural communities. In doing that, RCAC, as you know, is a pretty large rural development corporation. They operate specifically in the Western United States on a par with housing. They're probably right next to the USDA, that as far as being below it. They specialize in working in rural communities, and in particular really small rural communities. So when they contacted us about how we were doing on the down payment assistance program, Roger indicated that we could certainly use some assistance in putting together the nuts and bolts. In other words, explained right down to any detail how this would work for any one person, whether it's based on their income or credit scores or whatever, how much money is available, things like this here. So what they offered is they offered to give us, not give us, but they offered the services of Gina. I forget her last name, and Roger, if he gets on, can probably mention it. But Gina has extensive down payment assistance program in the Western United States. She's done a lot of it, as well as a lot of other housing programs for the RCAC. And she's, I guess, what you would consider maybe next to an expert on down payment assistance. And Roger was particularly interested because she could set this up and give everybody, any lender, any contractor, any potential homeowner, all the information on the program, how it's set up, what you have to do to apply, like I said, all the nuts and bolts. They were going to ask, however, about, I think, $15,000 for RCRC to lend Gina to the down payment assistance program, I think for a period of 6 months or something like that. And Roger was very interested in doing that simply because she set it up in various places before. She could do it very quickly, very easily, would add a lot of credibility to the program that Roger and I have been seeking. So he wanted to come to you to see if we could get some of that seed money going to get her on board to develop the program so we can go into a number of places, including the DFC, Plumas County, and some other places that Rogers got in mind to solicit funds for the down payment assistance program, and then have someone on board that can just set it up and take it away right away. So that's why Roger wanted this meeting. I think he was going to request $15,000 to $25,000. So that's all I can say right now at this point, Patrick, because Roger's been doing all the communication with you and with RCAC, and I'm sorry he's not able to get on his audio right now unless he can. Do you want to see if, can you tell him or ask him if he can get on a phone call to you, maybe? Would that work, Patrick?
Yeah, we can try that. let's see here.
Is he still on the audio? Let me just check. Yeah, I see him.
Yeah, yeah. No, thanks for providing that background. I think, yeah, at the end of the day, he was going to include much of what you just described, and then some more of the details with regard to the budget and whatnot in
Yeah.
that proposal. So I think, if this gives a good sort of, general overview for the team to kind of, brainstorm on or think about in preparation for that grant proposal coming, we should be able to have it to everybody for that first meeting in April, which will be April the 7th, Monday, April the 7th. So, if that works to then kind of do a deeper dive for everyone.
Yeah, Patrick, if I could, I just want to mention a couple other things. I know
Sure.
Roger's been working with Tyler Pugh on the Housing Council regarding this. I also wanted to mention that I reported to the Board of Supervisors that it's been a little bit tough on housing since the beginning of the year. Twice the rates have gone up for the USDA single-family dwelling interest rates on those homes. It's gone from 4.5 to 4.75 in January. In February, it jumped up from 4.75 to 5.15. So that hasn't been really the news that we want to hear. And then, of course, we hear that with potential tariffs, housing costs could go up another $10,000 each. So it really hasn't been the good news that we wanted. I also analyzed the housing starts for all of last year in Plumas County. There was 78 housing starts. There was 48, single family dwelling permits. There was 3 ADUs, and then there was garages and some other things, for a total of 78. So far this year, we've had 8, and I know it's early in the season, just 8 total permits, no ADU permits. And I think just maybe 5, single family residence permits. So, but like I said, it's early, but if unfortunately those rates continue, that means we could finish the year out probably at about 50 instead of the 78 that we had last year, which is really concerning because it's tough right now everywhere. And what it says to me, and I've talked to lenders, they say 2 things. One is you may need even a little bit more money for down payment assistance to make it work. And second of all, they're saying think small. And I know that's a Matt Fogarty thinks a lot about that because he's talked about tiny homes for a long time. But um, I think my initial idea of a 2-bedroom starter home at 1,200 square feet and a 300 square foot ADU is going to have to be downsized to probably just 1,000 square foot house, or 800 to 1,000 square foot, just simply because that's what we'll bear. I went to a lender and I asked for 1,000 square foot house or 1,200 square foot house with 300 square foot attached ADU built in Greenville at $350 a square foot, which is a pretty competitive price right now. And the monthly payment came back with, as far as the mortgage, escrow payments, interest, the California Fair Plan, and taxes, came out to $3,951 a month, which means there's not too many people in Plumas County that are going to be able to afford that, unless you can either, 1, build a smaller home, or 2, get even more down payment assistance than what we thought. And that brings to mind, I think, why people in Paradise have brought their down payment assistance program up to like 110,000, because that's just what works with lenders. And of course, with what people make for a living. And as you know, Plumas County is a low income county in a high cost state. Our debt to income ratio is high because we have the same expenses as most other counties or counties around us, but our income is about 20 to 30% lower than a lot of the counties surrounding us, so it makes it difficult for people to be eligible.
So Clint, thank you for providing that background information.
So
If you
do I
could-
have my audio now finally?
It's not, yeah, I think we've got
Oh,
you.
I
If you'd like to.
apologize. It's a new microphone and
It's quite all right. No problem.
Clint pretty well filled in the pieces on this, other than RCAC has prepared to work with us for a period of 4 months to possibly up to a year. And basically, they have their housing specialist, and then they have additional people that have been working on down payment assistance for some time now. And so they're proposing a contract with us up to maximum of $15,000 for that period of time. And I've worked with RCAC before on other projects, and like Clint said, they're a very good organization dealing with housing issues throughout the whole 11 western states. And so if we can get them on board with this, that will be really a very beneficial thing to getting this program going.
Okay. Thank you for that, Roger. Any questions, comments, concerns right now for any of the steering committee? Once again, there'll be a more thorough and formal grant request on April 7th. But if there's anything that might reinforce what's been said, or anything you can think of right now, any concerns or thoughts? All right. Well,
And
with that-
Roger, can I just ask, I'm sorry, Patrick.
Yeah,
Roger, I forgot Gina's last name that works for the RCAC. Was it Chamberlain?
Yeah, Gina
Gina.
Chamberlain is the manager, and then she has a specialist who works with her, who has broad experience on the down payment assistance programs.
Roger, I'm just going to ask this question just because I know how experienced Gina and her crew are. Since they've done so many housing programs in the western half of the United States, and if we were able to get them on board, do you think they would also be able to maybe offer some advice or some support for some of the other housing programs that Tyler's, working on in the
Well,
housing council?
yeah, they might very well be able to do that. And they're also looking at having at least 4 different discussions with stakeholders with respect to getting the down payment assistance program up and running, dealing with the down payment assistance design, the amounts. They're looking at 120% AMI, so we're looking at workforce housing rather than low income housing.
It looks like that next Plymouth Housing Council meeting is on Wednesday, March 26th.
Yes.
From 10 to 12. So that's a great opportunity to discuss there and see what other opportunities there are. I think Ben Hoffman has sent out an email saying if there's any updates or if anybody wants to provide updates and information, they can do so. So that might be a very good venue to discuss this. And to
Roger, were you going to make a request today, or was this one information on RCAC and Gina coming on board for to help set?
Clint, Roger and I are going to work on at 9 o'clock on Thursday for the
Oh,
actual.
okay. You had mentioned it. I'm
We
sorry.
don't have a grant proposal yet.
Got it. Okay. I'm sorry.
We're gonna do that on Thursday, and then that'll go on the April 7th agenda to actually be voted on.
Thanks for doing that, Patrick.
Yeah, no problem. Um, okay, team. Anything else? Any final thoughts? Yes,
Oh,
Danny.
Yeah, Patrick, I thought initially I'd heard that there was some overhead that was going to potentially be reduced by somebody else coming on board to help out with this.
Well, what we're looking at is, besides the RCAC, consultant, funding, because um, the nonprofit basically doesn't have any additional funding at this point. That would also cover some administrative costs. Yes, so we're looking at probably another 10,000.
Yeah, okay, because I thought there was somebody else coming on board to defray some of that or take some of the costs out of that original piece that we've looked at had seemed to have that rather large amount of administrative costs in it.
Well, there's a possibility that PRS could get involved in actually administering the program, and that might substantially reduce some of the cost down the road, but that's all very preliminary yet. Tyler and I have talked about that. I've had conversations with PRS, and they're certainly open to doing something like that because they also are doing a lot of case management for some of the folks in the Greenville area as well.
And Roger, I just want to say, I know I haven't been too involved just recently, but you put together some really good synergy here between the Housing Council, Plymouth Rural Services, RCAC, and now looping in DFC and, you know, potentially the North Valley Community Foundation. So I think we've got a good synergy of resources that can maybe move this forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Final thoughts? All right. Well, Clint and Roger, thank you for joining us. We appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you for having
And Roger, we'll talk on Thursday morning, 9 a.m.
Very good. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you both. And welcome, Marcia. Good to see you. All right. Next agenda item. So a couple things. I was just going to give you an update on. So one item, this is something that frankly, trying to get some more information on it. Tyler Pugh had started doing some research on what he or others call place-based branding and visioning. He had found some examples of other communities that had, essentially marketed and framed like a concept around their location as not only like a tourist destination, but kind of an overall sort of cultural appeal by what they're doing. So one specific example that he found was in a location called Humboldt, Kansas, which is a small Midwestern town. I believe it's in southeast Kansas. And they were working on trying to develop vacant store frontage. So it was a mildly depressed rural community that had been hit hard by changes to the agricultural market over the 20th century into the 21st. And then they set out to kind of re-envision and repopulate, for what it's worth, Main Street USA type of feel to be able to, help develop small businesses in their community, and then they went about it in this sort of marketing and branding way. So he had reached out to those folks that had developed that concept, in addition to another woman that he's been working with regard to regenerative economic practices in not only rural communities, but also urban, and what that means and entails for communities. And so they have a rough proposal of how they think they might be able to support some of the efforts here in Greenville and Indian Valley writ large. And received a draft of that proposal, and happy to send it out to all y'all. One of the things that kind of came back from a number of folks, and myself included, and that's why, to be honest, I haven't yet shared it with you, was just I felt that there might need to be some more detail in what they are proposing around some of the workshops. So roughly, it's a series of workshops and a potential website to be drafted at the conclusion of those workshops that help market and or brand the area. Wanted to get a little bit more fidelity on the how that process works, and a couple other items before just to know more, and then be happy to share it with all y'all. I know that I believe the Indian Valley Community Services District is looking at it, as well as the Indian Valley Parks and Recreational District. And a number of other folks have been on some meetings and whatnot, just to kind of listen to what this idea is. But I think it just needs a little bit more maturation, if you will, on what the development ideas are. I know, Matt, you received, or I think you went to a couple of previous workshops that were held around like the mill and Crescent Mills. Any thoughts or ideas here?
Yeah, I went to 2 sets of meetings. Each one was about 2 or 3 hours long, and it was supposed to be about kind of economic development, which is really close to my heart, but it was pretty vague, and it was a lot of post-it notes type of exercises with kind of vague marketing related themes and stuff. So it was all very, very high level. And honestly, I didn't actually get much out of those 2 sessions, and there was the report was never shared either. So I don't know if anyone got anything out of that session. My concern with this project is $120,000, and the output is like really vague. And I think that we've done a lot of those kind of priorities, who you want to be, post-it note types of things. Like there's one, the RSF process was kind of all about that. And then there was like the kind of the town plan kind of thing, had some of those things in with themes and all that stuff. I think that $120,000, I don't know whose architecture or whose business is going to be influenced by this themey thing, placemates, marketing and stuff. I just don't know. I'm not confident that is going to bring $120,000 worth of value. And at the moment it's really vague. And one thing that was concerning is that when you said, how about some more details, it seems really vague. That their answer was that, yeah, well, how about we'll just like ask the people what they want. And I was like, man, like you're gonna ask 120 grand to ask the people what they want. You don't even know, you don't even have a value proposition. It's like, I don't know. It for me, it doesn't sit right. So, but I love to hear the thoughts of everyone else.
Just a refinement on that, Matt. So on Friday, the folks that were kind of developing this scope and concept have we've sketched out a time at 12 at noon on Friday just to get some more information. Based off of that information, I was going to throw it out to everybody here so you can kind of read, and then we'll kind of see where it goes. I was bringing it up just as an opportunity just to kind of discuss. I don't know if anybody else has been involved. Kester, Sherry, I don't know if that's something that has crossed your paths at Rotary or any other places that you all are involved in. Dax or Shelby, Marcia, I don't know. Has anybody else got any of this conceptually?
Yeah.
Shelby?
I was present for two of the meetings along with Matt. And there was some interesting information, but I kind of agree with Matt as for what the purpose is, you know, for what they're working towards, you know, what the ask will be. And I think, you know, possibly we'll learn more with this Friday meeting. But I think, you know, they just want to help in some sense, kind of figure out, you know, just a plan about how to go forward, you know, maybe even past when the DFC is done, you know, just trying to keep that conversation alive. But you know, I don't know if what they're looking at is the best way to go about that. But it seems like they're open to trying to figure that out still. So
Yeah, and my goal here was just to share that at least that you know this is in the works and that there may be more information forthcoming. So I'm still kind of figuring out myself. So yeah, Danny, did you have thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of along the theme. I haven't been involved, but it kind of hearing and concern I have is plans about a plan to have a plan. And spending $120,000 for a plan about a plan to have a plan is, you know, it's a little more solid and an encouraging product. Oh.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Absolutely. Greg, did you have something?
Yeah, just is this something that they're targeting specifically for Greenville, or is this Plumas County?
It was definitely more Greenville, like or like Indian Valley writ large, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because, you know, each community like Taylorsville, Crescent Mills, Greenville, you know, all inextricably tied with regard to one another. So yeah, makes sense. But I'll follow up with y'all. I just wanted to kind of, you know, get it on here as like a bookmark.
Yeah.
So the next time we talk and there is potentially more opportunity to fill in the blanks that we're not starting from scratch and y'all have at least heard it once. Yes, Sherry or Kest?
Yeah, let's see, we are okay. If you're gonna follow up with them, could you ask how this is different than the planning? We've done a lot of planning and the post-it notes kinds of things. What's different about this time around?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think that's kind of what Friday is about, because when I first looked at it, I was like, you know, what do I know? It just seems like there's been a lot of good work already done up to this point that's similar. And so I will, yeah, I hear you, Cass. Well, I'll definitely ask that. Yes, Sherry? Oh, muted.
Right.
Go.
Thanks. At the last Chamber of Commerce meeting, this was mentioned, not with a lot of detail, just that it was out there. So we have heard of it, but we didn't attend anything. So.
Yeah, same thing. I know the chamber they've been briefed as well, like same type of deal. So okay, that's good to know. Cool. Thanks for the background. All right, so the next two items, DFC Next Steps Survey and the CPAT report, they kind of go hand in hand, but I just happened to list them there. So I sent you all a survey in the form of a Google form. Really just the primary purpose was just to, you know, draft something and then have you all look at it, review it to see if there was any value in it. And it's a draft. It's definitely a draft, you know, not a final version. And I was, you know, interested in kind of getting your thoughts and impressions about what additional questions to ask, or did I even ask the right questions, which are, you know, open for definitely critique and refinement on that end. And really, this is nothing more than, so the second item that I have there is the CPAT report. Let me give you a little bit of background on CPAT. CPAT stands for the Community Planning Assistance Team. So I sent that report as well in the steering committee packet. The planners that were on that team, they're actually going to be briefing this tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors meeting. And so they're going to just share this with the supervisors, and it's not necessarily like an approval type thing. It's just really kind of recognizing that this work has been done And that, you know, Tracy Ferguson will kind of introduce these folks, and then they'll just, you know, generally discuss their overall report. And if you had a chance to read the executive summary, you will see that they had basically 5 principal areas, A, B, C, D, and E. And number 1 was strengthen local governance and community capacity. And in that, so pages 17 to really like 22 kind of talks about potential recommendations, or they are recommendations, but the potential for how things could go for an alternative organizational structure to that of the DFC, right? And so I tried to include some of that in this survey. You know, the easy button is just dissolve, right? So once the DFC, and that's kind of like what's been talked about for many months, is that one day the DFC just would simply cease to exist, and then maybe there would be something to take its place, maybe it won't. They have various different ideas, around 6 of them: either restructure, retain it the way that it is, transition it to something else, retain it in another way, restructure it in another way, and then dissolve it completely. So back to the survey, it was really just a rough draft, and then see what you all thought and just see what your impressions are. And then we can refine this a little bit, but then I would like to share it with some of the local agencies like the Rotary Club, like the Chamber of Commerce and the American Legion, and so on and so forth. Many of the organizations, groups, and entities that had identified last year with regard to the organizational summit. By no means is this an exclusive list. It's really just try to get it out there completely, because it might help inform that next step, and to see who that long-term partner is. I don't know, like, you know, I know from what I understand with regard to like the community services district, is that they feel that they've got enough on their plate right now, doing water, sewer, and the fire department and things of that nature. So I don't know if even they have the appetite to want to take on like a sub-element in a community role. Another consideration is that a lot of our groups and organizations already exist, and they sometimes struggle or wax and wane with their participation. So then layering yet another entity where we now to have, you know, find all new board or committee or whatever it's called, whatever that next thing is, that could provide challenging in and of itself. Another option is really just that the existing organizations that we do have, if there's an opportunity for them to meet annually or semi-annually, like, you know, once every 6 months, to just kind of circle the wagons and say, hey, what's everybody working on? Maybe that can happen on an informal basis with some of the more long-term or stable organizations like Rotary or like the Chamber that are going to be here for a minute. Maybe they shepherd that by wrangling other folks, and you know, just put it on the calendar that, you know, once in January and once in July, or maybe just once a year, everybody meets to kind of discuss these things and operate and bring recommendations to the CSD around what they do, and then bring other recommendations to the county on what it does via our supervisor or other commissions like planning, transportation, housing, etc. So those are just some of the ideas out there. If you haven't taken a look at the CPAT report in its entirety, just you know, put it on the nightstand or maybe on your coffee table and thumb through it, and put it on the nightstand if you can't sleep, and then that'll knock you right out in a minute or less. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's got some really neat, you know, it's got some interesting recommendations. You know, it talks about the absorption and the market analysis that still probably needs to take place, which I know is one component of Tracy Ferguson's working on that with regard to housing. There's a market analysis that it recommends with regard to economic absorption, back to the census of what we were talking about before. How many businesses, how many things can Greenville really sustain with the population that it has? Greg, I know that you've brought that up numerous times with regard to community things, whether it be medical, dental, like a park, right? It talks about market analysis for if that's feasible. So the recommendations are great, but then, like, you know, back to the in how does this work with like their RSF framework, which there's kind of a Venn diagram that should go along with some of these pieces in order to kind of move things more thoroughly with the long-term recovery plan, which, oh, by the way, is not done. It's not completed. However, the group that the county has hired to do that is still working on it. And I know that Tracy Ferguson, 2 weeks ago at a supervisors meeting, she extended the contract with them. And so it should be coming with a no later than September, but maybe before then. So anyway, I've been talking a lot here, sorry. Those are I wanted to share those pieces around the survey. Please take a look at it. And then also the CPAT report. And allow those things to kind of sink in, and then we can have some more concrete things. We talked a little bit about our funding and our funding runway, if and how we continue to fund things with less than $600,000 left, and it may increase a little bit depending on receiving money back once the Greenville Rancheria knows its finances with regard to its build, so we could get plussed up a little bit. But just looking at like the next 5 to 6 months too of my own employment with y'all, and that's why I kind of broached the subject in January, just so we could start to think about this. But there's value in the Dixie Fire Collaborative being what it was established for, ending, right? And then allowing like a 3 to 6 month, I don't know, sort of period of time to then reinitiate something on behalf of the community that's not just focused on fire recovery, but it's focused on the community in all its shapes and forms. So, and I could see where there could be value in just separating those things in their entirety, so that there's no confusion about what it is and what the things are moving forward. Then there's also value in there kind of being a baton handoff, and kind of like a running relay of like, okay, DFC, you had it for this time. Now the, Indian Valley Community Action Committee is taken over, or whatever that is. Or, like I said, it could also be somewhat informal, where that just happens with the variety of groups and organizations that we've had, we continue to have, and presumably we will continue to have in the future, moving forward. So, thoughts on that? I said a lot, sorry. Yes, you have your hand up.
So I read the CPAT thing, and it was 70 recommendations. I mean, the thing is that with that, I mean, you need people, you need leaders, you need money to do any change. So I don't know. I mean, like 70 recommendations without that was like whatever, in terms of for the like the next few months of DFC and kind of winding it up, I mean, I would suggest that we set a date, and we have that's the end of it. And then if there's some money left over, say we got 600, 700 now, we managed to like spend like whatever 300-400 in the next whatever 4 or 5 months, then whatever, there might be a couple of $100,000 left over, and if there is, maybe we divvy it up, like a third to the Rotary, a third to Chamber of Commerce, a third to something else like that, and then it's clean like that. And then, but I mean, in the next few months until that time, and maybe September. I don't know, Patrick. We were talking about that earlier on, but maybe September, sometime in September, maybe the end date. That allows us all to think about, okay, we've got, if it is September, then we've got okay, middle of March now, we've got April, May, June, July, August, September. So we've got like 6 months left. So it gives us time to try and like invest the money that we're responsible for, time for if there is handover responsibility to get that firmed up, and then time for Patrick to like look for his next position, and knowing that he's got a time where his responsibilities end in terms of his ability to like dedicate himself 100 times. And in terms of if Patrick is going to be getting a job and he has to work part-time for DFC, I think that's totally fair as well, in terms of like, if he finding a job's tough, getting a transition, career transitions and stuff. So finding the right job's tough. So if Patrick does, if it is like, okay, we've got 6 months, this is the date, and Patrick gets a job earlier on, some other job, and he can keep doing DFC, his responsibilities part-time, I think he should be able to like start that next job before this end date if that's his choice, as long as he can keep up his responsibility at DFC, kind of winding it up.
Yeah, and so Matt and I, we met earlier today to talk about the business grant thing, and then we were chit-chatting about this because we talked about the survey and whatnot. So like that's something that I think I can do, is that as I, transition to another job, just retain, I can, whether it's like a day a week, a half a day a week, just to do the basic, admin and maintenance of being able to do like meeting minutes and agenda, things of that nature. Happy to continue to do that, especially if there's like a winding down period with the grant funding, just to be able to facilitate that for the steering committee, and then happy to do that as a volunteer as well, of just whatever that date is, whether it be September 1st at the front end or September 30th at the back end, or just I got to figure that out for myself with regard to my own sort of job hunting of what that looks like. But anyway, with the end state though is not to like just so everybody knows, like I'm not going to submit like a 2 weeks and be like, well, hey, I'm out of here. Like too bad, so sad. Figure it out. Like I definitely won't do that. I will figure out a way to make sure that there's like a logical transition, and or if we do, if it makes more sense to have somebody like, do this part-time, and they can devote, 10, 15, 20 hours, whatever it is, to make sure that there's a back to that baton handoff, that it goes smoothly and that there's not like a head scratcher of like, hey, where's this, or where'd that grant go, or whatever. So that's all. Yeah, Danny, it looked like you were gonna click
Yeah,
off.
the reason you won't want to do that, because we know where you live, Patrick. But then also, thinking about all these things, it all depends upon what's left in the DFC coordinator bucket as well, too, and what funds are there, whatever, what has to be done with that. But this is, it's just really saying, are we saying that the DFC coordinator funding ends in September, or what? I just want to kind of clear on that.
Yeah. So and we can take a look at it through the Fund Advisor portal, Danny. But the initial, this job, the DFC coordinator and the operating budget for it, when the DFC and NVCF contributed the money to it in 2023, they had essentially allocated 2 years worth of funding for it. So, and that came about like in August, September of 23, to extend, to about August, September of 25. Now, like operating budget wise, I looked at it last month, like there's still, like, I'm not buying as many paper clips as I used to or something, but there's still, plenty of money. But that's money that could also be rolled back into the actual DFC fund, right? To be granted out. So, Dax, to your point, like grants kind of like on the horizon. So Dixie Fire Canopy Project went today, right? We know that the Pumice Community Development Corporation, that the Rogers nonprofit to the CDC, they're looking at 25K. We received a grant for roughly $100,000 from the Dawn Institute that still has to be reviewed. But that came in on Friday, and I skimmed it today, but it's got a very thorough budget, a very complete looking grant. We know that LIDA is working with the Sierra Institute to put in a grant request for Warner Valley. So, right there, we're about, let's see, even if there's a favorable support for Roger talked about today, Michaela talked about today, in the next couple of weeks, that's $75,000 right there. If the Dawn Institute passes muster, that's $100,000 right there. And then, depending on what the Sierra Institute and LIDA's project looks like in Warner Valley, that could be significant as well. And I spoke with the Indian Valley Food Pantry today as well, Debbie Castle, because they may need some funding support coming up in the next several months, just to kind of supplement what they're able to get from the Northern Nevada Food Bank. So she's going to talk to her board about a potential grant request as well. So there's some things on the horizon. Oh, and also there's the potential for Plymouth Unified School District to put in a request for what a few weeks ago was potentially $20,000. I don't know what it is specifically, but that was the rough number for the softball field to finish the softball field project.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So they still have not submitted a grant request yet. I did email with Mr. Jim Frost, who's the interim super, middle of last week, and he said that he was still intending on submitting a grant request, that he had received the budget essentially from Lights Creek Construction, the contracting company that's doing the work. So anyway, those are things on the horizon. Yes, Greg, go ahead.
Wasn't you said that like what Roger and Clint were asking was just 25K, and I thought that they were asking for $500,000.
So I think what they decided to do is they've walked back that request because they're going to have RCAC really kind of help them define the long-term parameters of what that down payment assistance program will look like.
All right.
Yeah. So because at first they were talking about $1,800,000 from DFC, or $800,000 in total for the assistance program itself, with
Right.
some of that coming from the DFC and maybe some coming from Plymouth County. And then the 200,000, which I think is what Danny was referencing with regard to the admin and management. If some of that can be absorbed by RCAC through this contract to actually develop the program, then they might actually have a cost savings on that end, which then would allow them to then know more accurately what they need to fundraise to actually have the funds for the assistance program.
So they may have a bigger ask coming in the near future.
Correct.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, so it's a lot to think about, sure. But where were we? Those are, those are the things off the top of my head that I know about, let alone other things. And by all means, like, as you all are communicating, networking with other groups and organizations, that's been the tricky thing about this is, constantly bringing up this opportunity. And that's what we did last March, is had an opportunity for different groups and organizations to come out at the library, did the organizational summit. And then the last part of that was really talking about how they can all apply. There's, nothing special, nothing prohibitive about it, just apply and see what happens. And I thought that might help in advertising the fact that the grant portal exists and that it's available to anybody. With the American Legion, I've brought it up to some of the Legion members 3 or 4 times. I'm glad that it's incorporated in Michaela's grant, and that helps, right? So that they can finish up their project. But that was the goal of that, was knowing that they might get to the end of money that they had through insurance or whatever. And it's always tough to kind of get across the finish line, when it comes to landscaping or sidewalks or painting and things of that nature. So, all right. Well, that's just kind of a once around the horn. I wanted to put on your radar that April 12th, that was the last steering committee meeting. We decided that April 12th, Saturday, April 12th would be the next community meeting. The planners that put together this CPAT report, they're going to be present for that, to be able to kind of share the same presentation that they're giving to the supervisors tomorrow via Zoom. They'll be up on that Saturday to share that information in person. So they asked, I think I was going back and forth with this because I didn't think it was necessary that they travel twice to come to a steering committee meeting, especially since we do it on Zoom. So what I thought is that I said, if you guys want to come for anything, just come for the community meeting, share your information. Some of the steering committee members are present, and then we can just inform the rest or share your presentation at the next steering committee meeting. But they will be, I think, 2 members of the I think Hanson Hom and Michael Smiley are coming to that community meeting on the 12th. So that'll be kind of like the big event, and then still looking for some other presenters as well. So if there's something that you want to hear about, please let me know. I meant to reach out to the Dawn Institute to see if they wanted to brief, because they had talked about doing so earlier in the year, but then waved off because they wanted to develop out their plan a little bit more. So we might have the Dawn brief, and then oh, I was going to have IVRPD tee them up as well to talk about the fitness center and the plans for that, so that they can apprise everybody on how that's going to move forward and when people can start utilizing that. So, all right. And with that, it is 4:45. I wanted to turn it over for committee member updates. Lida, do you have anything you'd like to share?
No, nothing new, thanks.
Okay. Danny, do you want to discuss anything?
Yes, I got the treasurer's report. That was sent to everybody already.
You want me to share it? You want me to?
That'd be good, in case people haven't looked at their inbox. But one thing based upon your comment, as far as the fitness center, that we have that in our commitments, but we haven't seen a grant approved on that yet. So that money hasn't got moved from the idea stage to the actually approval stage, and it's just not showing it on a new grants.
I thought we did approve it.
Yeah, we did.
Wait,
But
there's
we
two
didn't
different.
approve the
Why
golf
don't you go ahead
center.
and just show the summary. Just show the summary.
Okay.
It's easier to digest. I think it's got a little bit more information. People can go look at the detail there, but I know we approved it. But if you look at say committed funding right there, we've approved it, but it has not been
hasn't
dispersed. All right.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
So we've approved it, but it's just not carried up. That's why if you look, and then you can't do a split screen, but if you just go to the narrative, which I sent out, that's the Word document, or not the Word, but there it is. All right, just go to the top and you can just display the whole thing. People kind of think. So on the top there, I'll just work down through this. So we got $4,365.85 in March interest. So that increases the total info to $1,40,020.79. So that we continue to get a steady stream of funds coming in just on interest. And thanks for the people who advocated for interest payments. But I say there's been no new grants that the grants have been dispersed yet.
Okay.
We've got commitments, but we have nothing that's been dispersed.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
so then with item 3, the only new expenditures we had in the last period was for the DFC meeting AV support, as well as website support. That's at $720 for that. So that's what causes our expenditures to increase there. So we have total expenditures of $262,650.46. And our current account balance is $1,665,155.16. That's what we think we have in the bank, ready to be spent out and such. But then we do have a new commitment that we said that we would do. We'd of that $336,000 for the signage and marketing. So we approved that at our last meeting. So I've put in that, added it into our total commitments. So we have total outstanding commitments $85,582.45 of commitments. So then you can see, looking at right now, we've got $2,560,448 that we have committed outflow. So that's what we've got committed as an outflow. And then, so that brings our available funds down to $578,572.71. And, so we have 18% of the funds left. Of that, which we already talked about, is potentially there's that $300,000, which was the Rancheria set that we said committed to for their support, which they have not used. And the question is whether that's coming back or not. So potentially we can have, $879,000 available. So that's where we sit right now. And so, we're pretty good. And if anybody wants to go to the detail, you can look at that Excel document that was there. But I think we just, for ourselves here, is at least talk to it with the narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the grant that went to for the fitness center, it was 144. That was structured with it was 50%. So the DFC contribution was $72,468, I believe, with NVCF also doing a comparable match of 72,468, I think.
Right. There was so based upon the understanding that was going to be done, but nothing is done until it's done.
Yeah.
Check.
Okay. No,
Right.
cool. I just wanted to circle back. Yes, Matt, you have your hand up?
Yeah, regarding the Rancheria 300K. So we've got, I mean, they may give us 300K back. We could forgive them that 300K of debt, or we could forgive them the 300K of debt and give them another 300K because we may end up with a lot of money. Could we ask for an update from those guys and see if there's any way that we could, I mean, we're in a great position to help them out. We could forgive that money and we could give them more money if they're moving forward and they need it and all those things. Do we have any update? I mean, I know that their budget.
I'll follow up with, I mean, so Grace Bush, who initially was working that grant request, I'll follow up with Grace and see if she can come to our next steering committee meeting to give an update. So we get it straight from her as to what the timeline is, and also so that some decisions could be made around that money.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that's yeah. I'll follow up with her immediately and just see if she can put it on her calendar to join us on April 7th.
Because if we do end up with like extra money at the end, I mean, they've got a big bucket that we can throw into, like a $30 million size bucket, I think. So it's a big budget.
I heard they had a big budget, but then I heard they had a kind of a large settlement that they're looking at too. So I think that's why they're hedging, not moving. So we can put it there, but if we can put it somewhere else, I'd rather put it somewhere else too, rather than have their bucket overflow and then they got to figure out how to spend it.
Sure.
But I
Yeah,
hear you.
it would. Yeah, I don't know. I know that they had, they're working on a settlement. I don't know anything more than that. So, all right. Thank you, Danny. Greg, do you have anything that you want to pass to the team?
No, nothing new. Kind of waiting for to hear about how the signage project and all the branding is going from that.
Yeah, so we met today with Josie Litchfield, Rachel Goings from the chamber, and then Carissa, my wife, who also is with the chamber, and started talking about like the application process and then the intake form that they can use when people apply. So the allocated money, 12 businesses is what, that's the starters. And then based off of that feedback of how it's going with the application, if, the opportunity to then come back to both the chamber and the DFC to say, hey, is this something you guys want to fund more thoroughly with like a phase 2, because either there's the demand for it or not. So I have to take a look at the application, and then there's an intake form that we'll use after that. And then looking to have everything launched on March 31st, Monday, March 31st, in all places, so that it's all kind of open to anybody. One need not be a chamber member to take advantage of it. So that was one of the pieces, just to make sure that it's open to all Indian Valley businesses, nonprofits, churches, and also Canyon Dam as well. Yeah, so get it started, and then hopefully when people start seeing it, then maybe we can do a phase 2, and also see if we can, if the chamber wants to chip in this time around, second time around, maybe they do half or a third, we get another organization to do a third, so on and so forth, if it's something that there's a higher demand for. So.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcia?
So we're gonna do a Firewise
Yeah.
educational component on the 31st of March in your office at 12 o'clock. And it will be an educational thing. So Tommy Bresnovich will be there, Nina Payee from Plymouth Rural Services, Amber Hughes, who's the head of Firewise, some people from the RCDC, the River Resource Conservation District. Travis Goings will talk about the new Gemini and talk about how to evacuate. And so I'm going to be calling people this week that live in the Pex Valley, Williams Valley area, because that's the Firewise community we're trying to create. But I'm going to open it to everybody in the valley. Anybody that wants to come, that wants to get more information about that, then yeah, you're welcome to come.
And I just sent out the email to the steering committee that Amber had sent out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
She sent out something today, about an hour ago. And Marcia, if you hear, I mean, because this is kind of the numbers that I was planning on, like about a dozen or so. If you think more people are coming, the sooner you know that, please let me know.
Yeah, I'll ask.
About 20 chairs.
So you have 20 chairs?
Do.
Okay.
The tables and whatnot, and we've got all the audio visual stuff, like projectors,
Okay.
microphones and whatever. But I just want to make sure we have enough,
Yeah, okay.
of seating and whatnot. So
Thank you. I'll bring cookies.
count me in. I'm there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Marcia.
All righty.
Okay. Matt, any updates?
Indian Valley yard sales May 17 and 18. It's going to be Saturday and Sunday. And then you briefed everyone on that signage thing, so that's exciting to kick that off. And the hotel and the store are coming along.
So it's a Saturday and Sunday for the yard sale, not a Friday and Saturday.
Correct. Yep.
17th and 18th.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Super. All right. Thanks. Shelby, anything for the team?
I have no updates at this time.
Okay. Thank you. And Dax.
Nothing from me, no.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all very much for your contributions and your participation today. And that includes Sherry and Kest, as always. Thank you for being the stalwarts and being our community presence to help us think about things that we haven't thought about and continue to, move this along. So we do appreciate that. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
I'm so moved, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia. And a second?
I'll second it. Daniel.
Danny? Thank
Danny,
you.
yep.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? None? All right. And we are adjourned at 4:58 p.m.
And our next meeting is,
Yes, ma'am. April 7th, Monday, April 7th. That's the first Monday of
Great.
April.
okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a nice day.
Thank
Have a safe-
you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Bye-bye.